put the key into the ignition, and all of these warning lights illuminated. I started to panic. I ran through my head, what am I going to do if I cannot get my van started and just get it to camp and be safe for the night? I can deal with the problem in the morning. What I was trying to do is reset the electronic throttle control system. This is what I'm seeing on the dashboard, which is just the check engine light right here. And with the battery removed, we put the new one in. Here are my 5 tips for you to deal with an incident just like this. Howdy, my name is Scott. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Go Small, Live Large. This story starts on a cold, rainy, dark November evening. I was just finishing running errands before my Vanlife in Gainesville, Florida started the very next day. My last stop, I picked up the item, got into the van, put the key into the ignition, and things were normal up to this point. I turn on the chassis and crank the engine, and there was a cold, really slow start. The headlights flickered and the engine did not start. I stopped, removed the key, thinking that if I did this again, it would start. And in fact, it didn't. I started to panic. It's 8:30 in the evening, day before my Vanlife. My chassis is now dead. I'm thinking, what could be going on? I had zero indication that there was any problem up to this point at all. I let it sit for a minute. I ran through my head, what am I going to do if I cannot get my van started and get back to the RV campground, where my campers were arriving the very next afternoon? I thought through a quick checklist of what I could and shouldn't do. I started, put the key back in the ignition. I started the engine, and it finally did start. But there were some big problems. And the big problem was about all of these warning lights illuminated. And what it indicated is, I actually didn't know. There were so many warning lights on. Everything from the airbag to the electronic stability control to the ETC light. What the heck is that thing? The check engine light, the battery light, all these lights were on. The engine was running. So I'm like, let's get this baby to camp, because if I can just get it to camp and be safe for the night, I can deal with the problem in the morning. However, the ETC light, which stands for electronic throttle control, was a warning light I was not aware of, and the action that error message creates in the engine freaked me out even more. Let me explain. My first instinct was to call a tow truck so that I didn't damage the engine, because what happened with the ETC light is, even though the throttle is pressed down a lot, the engine would only go to about 2,500 RPMs, and I was literally going less than 20 miles an hour. My rig is 9,000 pounds. I'm on a highway that's a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, and I am panicking. My second reaction was, I should be recording this, but I'm so freaked out, I did not record much of this in real time. So I'm going to tell you the story as it unfolds. I'm going to give you some really big tips in case this happens to you and what to do about it. And for me, for the first time, howdy, my name is Scott. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Go Small, Live Large, all about the camper van travel experience. This is my van. This is Miss Lily, and I've been living and traveling full-time in this van since February 2019. Get some light in here and I'll tell you more about what happened. So what I decided to do is limp the van along almost 2 miles to the campground, and it was probably one of the scariest drives in all the time I've been in my van. Why? Because I'm on a high speed limit road. The van's only going about 15 to 20 miles an hour, even though I have the throttle floored. Every time I lifted off the accelerator, it actually upshifted. It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. I thought for sure what had happened is I blew a cylinder head again. That's what it felt like. It felt like it wasn't getting compression. It felt like it was sputtering, kind of gasping for air. This is the sensation that I got from the engine when my cylinder head blew at 49,000 miles, covered under warranty, which was great. Just took me about 10 days to get it fixed. That's what I thought was happening. So I was super careful, was watching all the lights on the dashboard, watching the RPMs, and I was limping along, flashers on, dark, rainy, Tuesday evening, made it to camp, plugged in, prayed for a miracle. When I got to camp, what I did is turned the engine off, let it sit for a few minutes, turned it back on. It did start after a few hard cranks. It did start. Most of the warning lights came back on again, which gave me great concern. So what I wanted to do is turn the engine off, plug in, and just let it sit and let me do some research on the internet. Here's what I found. I found through some YouTube videos where I did some keyword searches about dead battery, warning lights, things of that nature. I found a few seconds of some content that kind of validated that the chassis battery had gone dead enough not to really start the engine, and it caused all those warning lights to go off. I did some additional research. Here's what I found. And this was on the Ram forum. Come on, focus. There we go. This is a screenshot. And what I was trying to do is reset the electronic throttle control system to clear that warning light. And then by following these steps, which is to turn the ignition on, do not start the engine, wait for the warning lights to go out. The check engine light may remain on. Slowly depress the accelerator pedal all the way to the floor. Slowly release the accelerator pedal until it's all the way back in the rest position. Turn the ignition key to off, and then start the engine and test the throttle to see if the engine will throttle up. And you know what happened? It worked. I couldn't believe it. Now, when I turned the engine back on, after doing that technique, these are the warning lights that were on. Seatbelt, sure. Check engine light, sort of expected that. The oil light, because that takes a few seconds to clear, and then the battery light. That's kind of what I was looking for from the beginning, but all the other warning lights went out, which was beautiful. Now, what's kind of funny is we had our Vanlife. I mentioned the story to a few folks, including Nick at Sunshine State RVs. He's one of the owners, and he said, I think you got a dead chassis battery. So on Sunday morning, I started looking for who's open to change my battery and what's involved with that. All I could really find was Walmart. Didn't really want to get involved with Walmart. Just a big project, probably. What I found is, are you ready for this? Of all the places I never would have checked is Batteries Plus. Just doing some search on the batteries available, Google search. This is what I found. Gainesville, Florida. They open at 11 a.m. And let's pick up that morning as I go to have my battery replaced, including having them do the installation. So I'm heading to Batteries Plus to get the battery replaced. Currently what's happening is it has a weak start. So this is what I'm seeing on the dashboard, which is just the check engine light right here. It's driving normally. It's accelerating, braking, everything is fine. I'm currently not running the air conditioning because I don't want to have any electrical draw more than we need to. We're just a couple miles from Batteries Plus to get this battery replaced. And this is the original OEM Mopar battery that came in the van when I took delivery in October of 2018. It was probably put in a few months before that because I placed the order in June of 2018. So those batteries perform pretty well. It's about $300 overall to get this done. So I arrived here at the Batteries Plus. The only place really open was either a parts store, which they probably would install it. I couldn't find that readily, or a Walmart. And that would be probably an all-day project. These guys are going to do it for me in about 15 minutes. It's $20 to have it installed. I'm just not a real handy man, particularly when it comes to car stuff, so I prefer somebody that kind of knows what they're doing to do it versus me. Capture a little video as we go through. So you remove the cover, which is under the steering wheel here. That's what that is. And this is where the battery resides. And with the battery removed, we put the new one in. So in less than 15-20 minutes, we're all done with the battery shift, and we fired it up, and I'm happy to say there's no check engine light, there's no warning lights, so this was the problem. I didn't check what the voltage was on the battery or anything like that. I just want the problem solved. That's going to irritate many of you. Sorry, it's just how I roll. All the data doesn't matter much to me. I just want the problem solved so I can get Lily back on the road bringing you cool content. Do they still make these Throttle rugs? I hope so, because it's one of the greatest things. There we go. Last test before I drive out of here. Thank you again to Nick, Batteries and Plus here in Gainesville, Florida. We'll put his store's information down below. So key, ignition, what we're looking for is no warning lights. What we had prior is a check engine light. And now there's no check engine light. So awesome. It's always great when the rig is running correctly. Just saying. In 5 years of ownership of this van, I have unfortunately been stranded several times. Here are my 5 tips for you to deal with an incident just like this. Tip number 5, have great insurance that includes roadside assistance and towing. I use Progressive Insurance, and let me tell you, they're the best value for campers. I pay $1,300 a year to travel full-time with Progressive coverage. Tip number 4, if being towed, be sure to order a flatbed tow truck, not a standard tow truck, because your van is big and it needs a big rig to carry it to the destination. Use life experiences and internet searches, including forums, to help identify the situation and come up with some probable remedies. Obvious, I know. Maybe even do some of that stuff in advance before something happens so you're not panicked when something does happen. Second tip, worst case, if your van, while traveling in it, needs to go into the dealership for service, you just got yourself a new kind of vacation. Check into a hotel, relax, enjoy a different kind of travel that you might not be used to if you're traveling in your van. Tip number 1, don't panic. Instead, come up with a system to address issues like this one I had and use your available resources. In advance, know them, like what is your insurance situation like, so that when something does come up, you can deal with it very, very easily. And then, of course, learn from the experience. So next time it happens, you're just a little more familiar with it. Thanks for watching this video. Really do appreciate it. We'd like to say journey on and peace be with you. We'll see you soon.